Welcome back to Trigger's Travels. We've not been able to get away so far this year, so on the spur of the moment Steve said, right, let's get Trigger ready today and head off tomorrow for a few days. So that's what we did, and we headed towards the Gironde estuary. On the way to our first stopover, near Saint-Cier's, Champagne, we saw this windmill along the side of the road. Testing out our second camera, which we had set up behind us, but we hadn't connected up our microphones. They were connected to our camera facing outwards from the dashboard. Silly us. Our first stop was this lovely vineyard, Domaine Imbert, at Mortagne-sur-Gironde. Great views across the vines to the estuary. The grapes were very close to being harvested, plenty of places to walk Seth amongst the vines. On the way back to Trigger, we came across some very inquisitive and friendly pigs. Seth not too friendly back. Steve had to have a photo with the huge machinery, boys and their toys. So peaceful watching the sunset over the vines, then waking up the next day to a beautiful sunrise. We stopped for lunch at Barzan and walked the path alongside the estuary. After filling up with fresh water at Saint-Pourchaire, a friendly local advised us we could park up at the local chateau overnight, so next stop was Chateau de la Roche-Courbon. What an impressive looking chateau. We only paid for the outside gardens and caves, but still spent several hours looking around. Well worth a visit if you're in the area. You can spend all day with the chateau visit as well. The entrance for the garden included walking around the gardens. There's a prehistoric museum, an exhibition on the history of the gardens, and a prehistoric walk to the caves that are under the Chateau de la Roche-Courbon. These are prehistoric caves that were inhabited during the Mousterian, Aurignacian and Magdalenian eras. In the surrounding forest are remains of a Gallo-Roman village. There are Merovonian tombs and remains of walls from 11th century. The site was then called Romet. In 1603, Jacques de Courbon freed Romet from 113 years of joint ownership, and by combining the names La Roche and Courbon, the name La Roche-Courbon appeared. wasn't allowed in the gardens, so Steve went back to Trigger while I took the walk down to the caves. Don't worry, there are nice walks for Seth across the road. Steve found out there was a Roman fountain nearby, so we went to the Fontaine de Moulin at Vénérande, which are springs feeding the Roman aqueduct at Saints. There was a lavoir and a mill, and the fountain has access steps. We then headed to our stopover at the Porte de Lise at Salignac-sur-Charente, a parking site for motorhomes next to the river. Our last stopover on this trip was at ABK6 Cognac, Domaine Francis Abécassis at Val de Vignes, 46 hectares of vines. After the 3 coaches had left, it was a quiet evening with a beautiful sunset. And a beautiful sunrise the next morning. Beautiful sunny morning again, sun's coming up. And listen to the music they play to the vines. There's a speaker over there. Now when I was walking the dog at 10 o'clock last night in the vineyards in the pitch black with just a torch and I heard some of this music, I was a little bit faint, but this morning it's not so bad. Beautiful morning. We were told later that they play music to the vines as the vibrations stops infection. Sad seeing the sunflowers dying. Also a shame seeing this beautiful house left. Was a bit early, but we went to taste a few of their cognacs and then saw their beautiful, expensive room. We will definitely have to go back and stay overnight and have the tastings in the evening. A lodger on Trigger. Back home again, looking forward to our next trip away.